Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got another great show for you today. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks will be here in studio. I'll be talking to him for a longer conversation. You won't want to miss that. And we've got lots of other exciting topics to get to. Hello, Stephen.
Thanks for having me again. I'm having a lot of fun this week co-hosting here. Very excited about us wearing different colored ties today.
Yes.
The last couple days we uncannily had a matching tie set, but I'm excited for it to hear what's on your radar. I think I can guess what it's about.
Yes, you probably can. President Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son, Hunter Biden, is continuing to haunt the Democratic Party for months, maybe even years to come. But surprisingly, few Democrats, I've been waiting, I've been paying attention, but very few Democrats have been willing to denounce Biden's fundamental betrayal of his campaign promise, even when it makes them look like absolute fools. Consider Representative Dan Goldman, a New York Democrat. Earlier this week, CNN actually forced him to watch an old clip of himself assuring viewers that Biden will never pardon Hunter, and then had him react. Take a look.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It had already fallen through.
That only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
Talk about painful. That plea deal, by the way, would have given Hunter Biden blanket immunity from charges relating to influence peddling as well. So anyone who says things changed after the plea deal was taken off the table is really just saying that they didn't want the Biden family scrutinized for foreign business dealings. But all of that's beside the point. Democrats know, surely they must, that they look like fools when they defend this. How hard is it for Democrats to say the following? I thought Joe Biden would obey the rule of law. I trusted him when he said he would never pardon Hunter Biden. While I understand his perspective that the circumstances changed, I think it is fundamentally wrong to take this course of action, and I strongly oppose it. There you go. How about that? Just say that. That's not so difficult, right? Yet very, very few Democrats are reciting that script. There's Colorado Democrats, Jared Polis and Michael Bennet. There's Representative Dean Phillips, the Democratic Party's very own Cassandra, who has long attempted to warn the public about Biden's diminished capacities to no avail within his own party. Now, pollster Nate Silver has warned Democrats not to nominate anyone who fails to repudiate the pardon within 48 hours. Well, I'm checking my watch. We are now just about past that point. We are past it, in fact. And we haven't heard a peep from Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro. That's a mistake on their part, because the media, not just the conservative media, but the mainstream media as well, is going to force Democrats to answer for Joe Biden's reckless actions again and again and again. Now, Democrats, I'm obviously not in your party, so I guess take what I had to say with a grain of salt. But do yourselves a favor and throw Biden to the wolves. This action he has taken is deeply unpopular, and in fact, he is a deeply unpopular president who has clung to power long past a point at which a majority of the American people still trusted him to do the job. A president who misled the public and directed, or at least tolerated, his surrogates lying to the public about his diminished capabilities. Then he made fools of them yet again by doing the very thing he vowed he would not do. They're protecting him, but they're not protecting themselves. And I struggle to understand how Joe Biden continues to have this hold over the party. Still, he is on his way out. He is a failed leader at this point. He has been rejected. His party has been rejected. And I understand why the sycophants he's surrounded himself, whom Kamala Harris, maybe I'm supposed to feel bad for her, inherited for her campaign. It was the same crop of people, the same people advising her who had been advising him. No wonder she failed to distinguish herself from Joe Biden or say what she would have done differently or what she didn't approve of with Joe Biden. She was surrounded by people who were never going to advise her to do that because they had been the people advising Joe Biden before she took over. So maybe that's a underexplored thing you should feel sorry for her about. But I don't understand why elected Democrats who want to have an electoral future are not calling this out with greater strident quipping.
Well, yeah, there are a few more Democrats than I think you're giving credit for. So on one hand, you have the Chuck Schumers of the world. He had a hilarious press conference yesterday. He was asked repeated questions on the Hunter Biden pardon, and all he said is, "I've got nothing for you." It reminded me of the former NFL running back Marshawn Lynch when he would do press conferences he had no interest in. He would say, "I'm just here so I don't get fined." But the truth is there are many more Democrats, not just the Cassandras, as you point out, Dean Phillips, but even people like Senator Tim Kaine, who I would describe as an establishment Democrat. Tim Kaine from Virginia.
I'm not sure I've ever heard of him.
You know Tim Kaine from Virginia.
I always say that joke about Tim Kaine because he's such a forgettable. Actually, they made it. SNL stole my joke about it, but I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No worries. He says, I will not. He just highlighted Biden's reversal on this, and he says when you make a promise, you got to keep it. Representative Ro Khanna, we'll hear more from him. He empathizes with Biden, but says the pardon is inappropriate. You have Senator John Fetterman, who has an interesting take on this. He actually says that both Hunter and Trump have been treated unfairly, and perhaps both should be pardoned. Senator Tammy Baldwin, my home state senator, not always known for criticizing her own party, criticizes pardon. Senator Gary Peters, the former head of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, very much an establishment Democrat, flat out said Biden's decision to pardon his son was wrong. And so there are more Democrats, I think, who are stepping out than you're giving credit for. I still maintain.
And I'm glad all those people did that. But why aren't the people being talked as potential presidential candidates saying things? That's what I'm confused about.
Presidential candidates and the DNC chair candidates also. Yeah. That is a good point. I think they obviously do not, whether it's Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom hasn't said anything.
Commenting on this issue is not a political winner for them, and that's why they're staying out of it, and that's the easy answer why.
It's amazing. Picking up on John Fetterman's point, I think there's some validity to that. You know, we're arguing about this. We argued about this with Michael LaRosa the other day. I also had an extended conversation with him on another show that I do, and so we really got into it. And I think if the people defending this could concede more so, like John Fetterman did, that yes, the justice system can be weaponized by politicians for political ends, you would have more legs to stand on, but then you have to concede that maybe not everything they did with respect to Donald Trump was above board either. Maybe that was part of an effort to tank his reelection prospects, and so many mainstream Democrats don't want to give that argument any oxygen whatsoever.
Yeah, not many are giving oxygen to that. Some are. Fetterman is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think you look at comments from Fetterman and some of the other Democrats I referenced, that just shows that there are some people who are willing to be a little bit more critical thinking about this issue, and we should pay attention to those. And the people like the congressman you highlighted who flipped 180 on this pretty quickly, those should be criticized. Absolutely.
Well, coming up next, we're going to look into what Fani Willis in that Georgia prosecution of Donald Trump has been up to. Stay tuned. More Rising right after this.